Flip the rolling stock over and now start applying the acrylic to the roof. You want to wash it down along the length of the roof, and the idea is that just like in real life, water flows off the roof down the sides of the rolling stock. So if anything rolls down the side, that's okay, because that's exactly what happens in real life. So do the same thing that you did on the bottom and apply the acrylic paint, and then use your hair dryer to quickly dry it into place. With one or two coats of the acrylic wash, you can see we're already getting a good weathering effect. But I'm going to add just a few more coats because I want it to be a little bit more darker and a little bit more weathered down. You can add as many coats as you like, and in fact, if you want to undo some of this before the acrylic paint sets up, just use a paper towel with a little bit of water and just wash some of that acrylic paint off and just start again. You'll notice the catwalk starts to really stand out as the dark paint seeps into all the little cracks and nooks and crannies, and that's a good thing because it'll really stand out on your model. So I'm going to continue adding a little bit more of the paint just to make the walkways look good. Also note that the paint will settle underneath the walkways, so occasionally you have to tip the model side to side to get some of that paint to flow out so that you can dab it up or dry it up. At this point, I'm satisfied with the weathering of the roofs, so now I'm going to move on to the sides of the rolling stock. The sides are done the same way as the roof, except I tilt the model at about 45 degrees and then run a bead of the wash across the top so it slowly dribbles down the face of the model. And then I use a wash motion going down to spread the wash down the surface of the model, and also work the paint into the nooks and crannies like the ladders and the doors so that all those little gaps really stand out. You'll notice little beads that will form on the surface of the model, and no matter how much you use the hairdryer on them, they won't evaporate. So you'll just have to dab those off with a paper towel. Notice you can also focus where you're going to put your wash. In this case, I'm putting it over the lettering so I can dull it down even more. Again, you can keep playing with this over and over and over, add as many layers as you want, weather up one side of the car more than another. You've got plenty of flexibility to do whatever you like. As you can see, the model is getting there on weathering, but compared to the older model I did, it still looks fairly fresh and new. So I'm going to keep adding more and more layers. The previous model I did was actually a little bit overdone. But for example, you'll notice on the previous model there are really dark spots, and again, those dark spots can be created by simply applying your wash to a particular location, laying the boxcar flat, and then hitting the hairdryer on that spot straight down so it dries flat. Notice as we keep adding more and more layers, the dark paint seeps into all the little cracks and crevices, and it really makes things like the ladders and the rungs really stand out as separate objects. Even though they're just part of the plastic, the black paint actually pulls it out, makes it look more like it's standing off the model, which is what you want. Now sometimes you might make a glaring mistake and you want to correct it. At this point you can correct some of those mistakes by simply using the wash again and just wiping that area and just reapplying the wash. You can scrub it down a little bit with some water, But basically you can still go back, and if you see some blotch that you don't particularly like, you can just simply remove it and redo it. The ends are done exactly the same way as the sides, except I don't merely tip the end at a 45-degree angle. It's easier just to put the car on its side and then work almost at a straight down angle. Just be very careful. There's a lot of little details on the sides that you could end up snapping off if you're not careful about the way you're wiping down the wash. I've got the model to where I like it now. I like the sides, I like the ends, and I like the roof, especially the roof's got a lot of nice detail on it. The ladders stand out, the doors stand out, all the little detail stands out because of the dark paint in the little nooks and crannies. At this point, you can go ahead and fix little mistakes, like you might find little dribbles and spots, which you can then use the wash to remove, or you can use some water to remove. So at this point, go ahead and just clean up the model, and then we're going to go move to the next step. Now I'm going to powder the car, and I'm going to use a combination of the brown and the black powders. Now what I like to do is start on the bottom of the car first, and I like to start on the trucks. And what I like to do is usually add some black powder to the trucks to dull down the plastic, and then some brown powder to the trucks to make the trucks look slightly rusty. I apply a heavy coat of the brown powder over the black powder on the trucks to give the trucks a rusty, sort of dirty look to them. I'm adding some brown to the undercarriage to give the undercarriage some variety and make it look dirty just like the trucks. Once you're satisfied with the underside, turn your rolling stock over and shake off any dust that's remaining. Now what we're going to do is add some dust to the sides of the rolling stock. Now this next step is completely up to you on how you want to decorate or weather your rolling stock. I like to add a thin streak or layer of brown dust along the bottom edge of the rolling stock to show that the rolling stock is picking up dirt and dust off the tracks, and so it's got this layer of dirt just on the lower portion of the rolling stock. Again, this is completely up to you, and if you put on a little bit too much powder, you can just kind of wipe that down and start again if you want. I also like putting brown powder on the couplers themselves to make them look rusty. Again, that's up to you, but I think it adds a nice little touch. Now, since I like steam era locomotives, I'm going to add some black powder to the roof of the boxcar so it gives the impression that soot has settled on the roof of the boxcar. Again, these are touches you can put on or not put on. It's completely up to you. But think about these little details when you model your car. My high-tech spray booth consists of a Tupperware container turned on its side in my garage, since that's a well-ventilated area. Always spray paint in a well-ventilated area. When spraying matte finish, you don't want to spray a long continuous stream. Use quick little short bursts by shaking the can and giving out a little burst at a time. You don't want to clobber your model with tons and tons of matte finish. Sealing the wheels is easy. Just put them between your fingers like so, and then quickly shoot a little cloud of the matte finish onto the wheels. After that, quickly dry them with the hairdryer. Now for the car itself. Quick short bursts, shaking the can, That one shot I got the side and the roof. I'll do the other side, I'll do the ends, and then I'll do the bottom. Don't overload the model with tons of spray matte. Finally, I'll use the hair dryer to quickly dry the matte finish so that I can handle the model without putting fingerprints on it. Now I'm going to put the wheels back into the trucks. One thing you want to do before you put them in is you want to make sure there's no paint or sealer on the steel spiked pins that are essentially the thing that are going to go into the trucks. Another thing that I do is I take a little bit of oil and I put a drop of oil into each of the holes in the truck so that the wheels will roll more freely when I put it back on the track. Depending on the trucks, the wheels will have a long pin side and a short pin side. The long pin side should go into the truck first, making it easier to bend the truck and pop in the short pin side. Again, this is dependent on the truck. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in all 4 wheels. Here's the completed model. It's been sealed. The trucks are rusty. There's nice weathering on the side. I really like the weathering on the roof. Here's a comparison to the previous model that I weathered. Again, this took about half an hour, and that includes me making a video. So again, this is something you can experiment with. I would not recommend this for the higher end models, but I would do this, and I've done this with all my lower end models because it's a very, very fast way to weather the models, and they look pretty good, I think. If you have any comments, leave them below, and again, thanks for watching the video, and I hope you learned something, and have fun with model railroading.